lesson we're going to be teaching today is naked and not ashamed.
A lot of times, when partners come together, they want the change to be immediate.
Everybody has something that makes them ashamed.
How do we help each other if we're hiding it? If we're not open, if we don't open up about our weakness?
Whoever doesn't love you for who you are does not deserve you.
If this person is going to be with you for the rest of your life, why do you think pretense is the solution?
Stay tuned for our feature presentation.
These are school lovers. So, like I was saying, you see, anything can happen. But I can try or easy. Anybody can be tempted.
It's true.
Something happened last night. Office.
Okay.
You know Cynthia now? Cynthia.
The normal Cynthia.
Cynthia.
Our Cynthia.
Our Cynthia. That was when I got to the office yesterday. Cynthia's top button
Okay.
was loose.
Alright.
And it's not a problem when you are tempted. It is how you handle that temptation that is the problem. So I was fixed in between two.
Okay.
Should I tell her? Should I not tell her? I felt if I told her, she'll be embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
And you know the way people handle things, you can't tell. We have fashion here, maybe or more. So I just kept my cool, JJ. Now you know the bad parts. At some point, I started feeling one kind.
You were feeling one kind now.
I'm normal one kind now.
Like I don't get.
As in, now.
You were feeling one kind. You were feeling one kind. Like one kind. For a woman's cleavage.
She exposed her cleavage and I saw it.
And
I wasn't looking.
You peeped.
I wasn't peeping. No, I don't get it. No, don't take it too far now. It was just normal.
What is normal in that?
It was just
Just hold it. What is normal in that? That you have to look at a woman's face from 8 a.m. in the morning.
No. Point of correction.
Till 5 p.m. in the afternoon.
Point of correction.
Wait,
I was not looking.
You know I don't have cleavage. I lack it. That's why you have to be looking. The reason why you cannot tell her to cover up is because you have interest to look. And you have seen.
So wait, what do I get from looking now?
I'm your mom. I'm ashamed of you. Our pastor will hear this.
Àǹtí kí ló agbégilẹ̀ jù? Kí ló dẹ̀ wá lé tó bá kí ni? Ẹ gbà mí. It's not Abi ẹ gbà mí, what did I do now?
He's not picking.
Are you calling pastor for real?
Wait and see. Hello, sister. I call it. Kini. Excuse me. Kini. Bobo cleavage. Hello, ma. Mo máa fẹ́ fọ̀rọ̀ kan lọ yín máa ní. Kí lọkọ mi wálé? Ẹ gbà mí. Ló ní èèyàn kan lọ́fíìsì òun pé lady kan Cynthia bá rí lady ẹ bó ṣe ṣàyà. Ó ní pé ó ṣí bọ́tì kan lẹ̀. Ó ṣí bọ́tì kan lẹ̀. Òun wá ń wò. Ọkọ mi wo cleavage láti 8 àárọ̀ títí di 4 p.m. ìrọ̀lẹ́. Ó ń wo cleavage obìnrin. Ó wá dé wá sọ fún mi. Ṣé ó lòun ò lè sọ fún kó bọ́tì náà? Ẹ gbà mí. Ẹ gbà mí kí n má sọ̀kọlù sọ́wọ́ Cynthia cleavage.
Kò lè tó báyìí náà.
Kí calm down tó bá ṣe àǹtí ẹjọ́ nítorí ọlọ́ ẹjọ́ ó ti dá ṣẹgbọ́ wáyé bí nǹkan tó máa sọ ní pé kí n calm down mi ìtú calm down tó báyìí tí màá fẹ́ calm down ó dàrọ̀ ẹ ṣe ẹ fi ti yín ṣe.
This thing is not like you are thinking. Kò rí bó ṣe rò now. People should roll. I didn't do anything.
Yeah, now you know I don't have cleavage.
Ibo ló tún gbọ́rọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ báyìí tó lọ. Ibo la tún já sí báyìí. Can't I be sincere with you? I thought we are supposed to be naked and not ashamed.
Hello, good day. You're welcome to our session for married people, and not just for married people, for all relationships, because even singles will eventually get married, And it's always more beneficial if the wisdoms that we are going to be rolling out during these sessions are things that one can master ahead of time, because it gives you an added advantage. Because by the time you eventually get married, you already know what it entails, you already know what it takes. A lot of times today, people want to get married, and all they're thinking about is the marriage ceremony. Hello! The marriage ceremony is just an event. The wedding is going to come and go. People spend so much time preparing for the wedding. The average young lady has been thinking about her wedding from the time she was 8, probably 9 years old, trying to figure out everything, her dressing. She probably has an album of clothes and all of that. But everything will pass away in just hours, not even an entire day. It's the marriage that is key. It's the marriage that is very important. And the key lesson we're going to be teaching today is naked and not ashamed. Once you understand this fundamental truth about God, it will help us to come to a place of understanding. It will help us to come to a place of revelation, and it will help us to come to a place where we know how we can walk marriage and make it successful.
All right, you're welcome, everybody. This is an amazing time. I'm so excited because we're going to be naked and not be ashamed. We're going to say it as it is. We're going to share our years of experience, the good times, the bad times, the times we fight, the times we laugh, the times we cry, the times we everything. And it's going to be an amazing time. Please stay with us, and you'll surely be blessed. You'll learn so much. And there's this saying that you learn a lot from other people's mistakes. You don't have to go through it yourself.
That's right.
If you get people that have gone ahead of you and are willing to tell you the truth exactly the way it is, so that you don't have to pass through the same thing.
Exactly. We made many mistakes. And it was just because we didn't know.
Yeah.
It was knowledge that was not available. That knowledge is being made available to us today, and it makes things a lot easier. So, what is naked and not ashamed? Naked and not ashamed is gotten from the Bible. Regarding Adam and Eve, God said that they were naked and they were not ashamed. So, where did naked and not ashamed come from? It came from God's word. Regarding the first man and his wife, God proclaimed boldly over them that they were naked and they were not ashamed. That's actually how the Bible says it. And when we look at that statement in itself is probably the most important and the most consequential thing in marriage, where two people, two individual entities, two different personalities can be naked before one the other and not need to feel any sense of shame. You see, because nakedness comes with maturity, or shame in nakedness comes with maturity. You could see a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old even, run inside this place and they feel so unashamed of their nakedness. But you will discover as that child begins to grow up, that child becomes more conscious. So when a person reaches an age of maturity, they are fully conscious of nobody or anybody seeing them naked. But the nakedness we're speaking about today goes way beyond the superficial. It goes way beyond the clothing. It goes way beyond the external. It goes way beyond the outward. We're talking about nakedness within. We're talking about inner openness, where two individuals, two different and distinct individuals, male and female, can be naked, open, one before the other, and not feel any sense of shame.
Wow. Are you ready? A lot of times when we talk about being naked and not ashamed, it boils down to the fact that you can tell each other anything. You can tell each other when you messed up, when you made mistakes, and you're sure that the other party will not judge you. You're certain that your partner will not criticize you, will not condemn you, will not make you feel irrelevant. A lot of times when couples come together and they have issues, the reason why it escalates is because one person is trying to hide some kind of information, or the other person is feeling like, what if I tell you everything? Will you judge me? Will you see the way it is? Will you start comparing me with other people? Let me say this, it's very difficult. We didn't get there in a day, and we're also still working on ourselves.
That's right.
It's not like it's that easy, but how do you start? It starts by saying that this is who I am. See, we keep saying this, that an adult that has been wired for 30 years, let's assume you get married at the age of 30, you have a particular way you have been doing things. You have been wired to do it in a particular way. And then you suddenly get married and your husband says, or your partner says, this is the way we should do it now. If you have been programmed for 30 years, it won't take you 3 days to unprogram you. It's a process. It's a time that you need to work on each other. So a lot of times when partners come together, they want the change to be immediate. And that is why it looks as if you're ashamed, that you're afraid to tell your partner who you used to be or who you are. A lot of times when you come out naked and you say, you know what, this is who I am. I've been like this for over 25 years. Would you just give me some time? Let me work on myself, and then we'll work on each other together. And that's why when we correct each other in love. At times we get messy. At times we shout on each other. At times you come and say, you know what, I just don't want to hear anything again. And then you come back in here and say, you know what, I'm sorry. I have thought about what you said. I realized that I was wrong and you were right. Or I can't even see the reasons why you said I was wrong. But you know what, for the sake of peace, can you just make it clearer to me? We have to just be naked before each other and not be ashamed. If you don't feel like it, you don't feel like it. If you feel down, you're feeling down. If you feel sad, you feel sad. If you really don't feel like talking, you don't feel like talking. Why? You just need to come out. That's the only way you can help each other grow.
Please stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break.
See how to find favor with God and men. See, because the principles of God will bring profitability into your life.
You're welcome to Vantage Church, a Colosseum with a clear-cut mandate to keep the saints with faith relevant for today's living. Our mission, to raise a body of believers who are led by the Spirit and aren't bound to any religious notions, is our passion. We're committed to an out-of-the-box Christianity and empowerment to a life of impact and relevance. We invite you to join any of our services, our worship services on Sunday by 10 a.m. at Providence Court beside Coca-Cola, Mokola, Ibadan.
We proclaim to you the good news today.
You're welcome back to today's episode on Naked and Not Ashamed.
Everybody has something that makes them ashamed. It's just human. Everybody has something that they are ashamed about. Marriage is a place whereby you can be open to another person. You can be vulnerable to another person and not feel that sense of shame. Everybody has something, either something in their past, a character default, a vice, one or another. It just means you are human. The fact that you have mistakes, the fact that you have challenges, the fact that you're not perfect just means that you're human. And when that comes in marriage, where you can actually look at that person and see their faults, see their challenges, and accept them just the way that they are. You know, I always like to tell married people that we don't love our spouses because they deserve it. We love them because we decided. Love is something that you decide. Love is a decision process. That's why love is for the matured. Love is when you get to a place where you just choose. You know what? I'm going to love this person. and I'm going to keep loving them for the rest of my life. It's just a decision, and every human being is capable of that decision, but you will never be able to fully arrive at that decision until you accept that person and their faults. Where you can look at them and you can see them naked with all their spots and blemishes. And you say from a mature standpoint of view, I still accept you just as you are. You know, when it comes to human beings, there's always something somewhere. For example, you know, ladies are usually very conscious of their body parts. No matter how well you feel a lady is formed, no matter how perfect you feel her shape is, I'm telling you, that lady probably has somebody that she's looking at and just wishing, oh, I wish I had just this like her. So many a times, in the proper marriage perspective, whereby husband and wife are seeing themselves naked for the first time on their wedding day. Okay. You want to see many a times, lady wants the lights to go off.
For the first time.
For the first time. You know, it's just natural. Yeah. So you can now imagine if we're that conscious about physical blemishes, how much more internal blemishes. That is why marriage isn't loving a perfect person. It's loving a person with all their imperfections together. It's seeing the entire person, embracing and accepting everything. In fact, there's an old phrase that they used to say back in the day. They would say, come as you are. You know, people pretend a lot one to the other. You see people going out, you know, in a relationship, a lot of pretense going on there. But many times you see people get married to complete strangers, not because they haven't spent time talking, not because they haven't spent a lot of time hanging around one the other, but they spend all that time trying to be somebody that they are not, trying to be somebody else. So the person that married them thought they were marrying this person. But you know, once you start to live together under the same roof, everything comes out into the open. That's where you get to know the real person. So let me tell you this. If you're still single, don't be ashamed to be yourself. Don't wear any mask. Let them see you for who you are. If they don't love you for who you are, somebody else is coming. There's so much fish in the sea, so much fish in the water. If they don't love you for who you are, no big deal. Somebody else is coming. Rather than for you to marry that person under a pretense. You see, because you cannot keep pretending. Be yourself. Whoever doesn't love you for who you are does not deserve you. Now, when you now also see the other person's weaknesses, it's a place of wisdom and understanding to know that both of you have weaknesses. You have yours, they have theirs. In fact, that is the wisdom of God in marriage. That is the wisdom behind the divine in marriage, whereby two people who are opposite will attract. Opposites attract. You know why? They attract so that what you have a defect in, you will attract another person that has a strength in that area, and their strength will be able to cover your defect and vice versa. Back in the olden days, you know, they had communities, and a community will grow and become versatile in a particular trade. Some become versatile in fishing, some in farming, some in warfare. And they realize that you don't have to be versatile in everything. So what they would do is that the ones that are versatile in farming will begin to trade with the ones that are versatile in fish, and vice versa with the one that is versatile in warfare. So the ones that grow fish will get the farm produce from the one that is growing crops and all that. And then they will get protection from the one that is good in warfare. So everybody takes care of one the other. It's called trade by barter. This is the beauty of marriage. Two people, opposites, each one having strength somewhere, having weakness somewhere, come together and they fuse one with the other. You know why? So they can cover each other's nakedness. So that they can be the one that will block the other place when they have a defect. I still have two more thoughts I want to push, but I want to throw it up over to the first lady.
You know, while he was talking, and something came to me. You know, when it comes to weaknesses, when it comes to strengths, everybody has weaknesses. Everybody has strengths. If I have a weakness, I shouldn't be ashamed of my weakness before my partner. In fact, I should bring my weakness to the table and say, you know what, in this particular thing,
That's right.
I am not that strong. In our own marriage, you know our weaknesses. He knows, I won't tell you what my weakness is. We know our weaknesses, and he knows that on this particular thing, you can't leave it to my wife. No. And because I've been able to tell him that, you know what, I can't handle this thing. This is my strength. So how about we celebrate each other's strengths and cover up for each other's weaknesses? As long as we're naked and we're not ashamed before each other.
Yeah.
As long as we can come to each other and say that, I know your weakness, you know my weakness, I know your strength should cover for my weakness, and my strength should cover for your weakness. But how do we help each other if we're hiding it? If we don't open up about our weaknesses? If this person is going to be with you for the rest of your life, why do you think pretense is the solution? Why pretend and say that, okay, this person, I know I have this weakness, and they are now pretending to not to be that thing. You know what? No matter how strong you think you are, your weakness will still come out one day. It will still be obvious to everybody. So why not just come out and say, this is me, I'm naked, I'm not ashamed. That is when you can get help. Until you come out boldly to say, I can't do this on my own. This is not me. I'm not wired this way. I don't have this strength. How about you help me in this way? Now, let me now sound a note of warning. When your partner comes to you with a weakness, don't rub it in their face. Don't make it look as if, oh, you are weak. Those are not the kind of things that you joke about. Those are the kind of things that you rub off on each other. Those are the kinds of things that you just use and talk in person because it might fall on the wrong side. So there's certain things about being sensitive to each other's weaknesses. And then when it comes to strength, you can pride in each other's strength. You can go out and say, I know my husband, he can do this. He will do this perfectly. The more you pride in his strength, the stronger he becomes. The more he prides in your strength, the stronger you become. So how about we cover for each other's weaknesses and we pride in each other's strengths? How about that?
Fantastic. I know what can really help that. No hiding behind one finger. You see, the only way that your spouse can be your strength in your place of weakness is when you yourself have accepted that as your weakness, not being in denial, not hiding behind one finger, not trying to cover up before the person that you should be naked before. I heard this story many years ago about a truck, carrying some politicians that fell into a ditch, and there was one farmer that was nearby, but they were so by the time they finally found the car, it was already too late for all that were involved in it, that were in the car. And then they went to the farmer because they said, look, your farm is just right across the road. You must have heard the crash. He said, yes, I did. And I came to them. And I asked them, are you guys okay? Is everyone okay there? He said, well, politicians, they say, oh, we're fine. That's why I left them. That is when there can be a problem. Is when you're trying to pretend or trying to act strong in a place of your weakness. Let your spouse be your strength in that place. Listen, opposites attract because there's an imbalance. It's just the law of nature. Nature naturally averts vacuum. So you see yourself pulling somebody and attracting somebody who is your opposite. Now, when you attract that person, the person is supposed to take you through a process. You're meant to take one another through a process, which is why usually at the beginning, there's tend to be a lot of friction. Friction comes from two rough surfaces rubbing off on each other, than grinding one on the other. But you see, as that process continues, what happens? They begin to smoothen out one the other if they allow the process. I always tell people that they wouldn't have liked me if they met me before I got married. My wife has worked on me. I was too serious. And I'm the kind of person that it's so easy to want to get this right and get that right. You can say I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. And perfectionists can be hard to get along with. But you see, I've allowed that process over time to make me more sociable, or make me find it easier to associate with people. I've had to bring down that high wall just a little bit more. And that's the beauty of marriage, to make us better people. So allow your spouse to be your strength. Allow your spouse to be the one that helps you in the places where you have shortcomings. Don't fight them. Because if you fight them, what they are meant to do, instead of throwing up a defensive attitude, whereby they're trying to help you and say, look, you can do this better, don't feel ashamed before them correcting you. Otherwise, what you do is that you get on the defensive. And that's what happens. Whenever anybody comes into the place of our nakedness, we feel shame, and then we revert back defensively. And that is when the person that is supposed to help you becomes the person that is going to torment you. I always tell people, whoever tells you your mouth is smelling is not the enemy. That's the person that loves you. Because when your mouth is smelling, people know. They just don't say it. They performed a social experiment in a bus, put cameras in a public transport bus, put cameras all over the place. And then they made somebody come in who was intentional. The person was part of the actors, you see. The person put something that was really stinking on their body. And the person came in and sat down in this bus that had maybe like 18 people. And everybody was looking at the person with this bad eye, but nobody said a word. And then when they got to the next bus stop, that person got down. When that person got down, everybody in the bus started talking, oh my God, she was spending so much. Oh my God, we almost died. She almost killed us. But they didn't tell her. People don't tell you that your mouth is smelling before you. They tell you behind you. The person that can tell you before you is not bold. They love you. That person is not the enemy. They are simply pointing out the obvious, which they wouldn't have needed to if you had simply accepted it. No wonder you needed them as your opposite that you attracted. Whereby they can tell you, hey, this is where the issue is. Now, don't make that person the enemy. The problem is not that they told you. The problem is that there is a problem. And until you can fix that problem, you will keep fighting the wrong person.
Please stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break. We'd like to intimate you with our online platform where we have an amazing list of events to bless you every week. You can join us for prophetic prayers every Monday to Wednesday by 6 a.m. where we connect to God's blessings. Every Tuesday is our special couples session by 7 p.m. where we talk about every area of marriage, relationship, finances, and children. On Wednesday, we have our midweek Bible study by 7 p.m. to help us grasp the deeper understanding of the things of God. You can join any of these awesome live sessions at Yinka Adeleke on Facebook and Instagram. Simply search Yinka.Adeleke on Facebook, Yinka_Adeleke on Instagram. You can also search for Yinka Adeleke on YouTube for amazing and insightful messages covering every subject. You can also enjoy reruns of all our Naked and Not Ashamed sessions on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube every Friday by 8 p.m. You'll surely be blessed. You're welcome back to today's episode on Naked and Not Ashamed.
Yeah, when it comes to your partner telling you what the problem is, your partner can only tell you the problem if you have come forward to say that I have this problem. There's certain times you have problems and you myself might not even notice that you have the problem. And then the person is bold enough, or like you said, loves you enough to say, I think you have this particular problem. Where you're coming from, it might not be a problem. It might not be an issue. You know, you might just see it as, that's the way we do it in my house. That's the way everybody does it. You know, there was a time somebody came over to our assembly and was saying something about the fact that where she comes from, they shout. When they talk to each other, they shout. And you know, I'm talking to you like this, and then that's the way they talk in the house. And then she got married, and the husband is from a house where they talk gently one to the other. You know, when they're communicating, they do it so very gently. And so when they're talking as husband and wife, the wife is talking and making a lot of noise, or so he thought. And when he's saying, this is the way I talk, in my house, this is the way we talk, we don't shout. But the husband, because of his own background, says, in our house, we don't shout, we don't talk like this. And that becomes an issue.
Yeah.
And if he's not properly taken care of, it becomes a very big issue. We have our own issues. Don't worry with time we share it, because he used to accuse me of a particular thing that I do.
One.
I mean, did you see? One.
No, I'm asking, is it one?
I don't know. I know one particular one.
I'm sure each of us have four, at least four. In fact, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yes.
Each of us have at least four.
And up until tomorrow, he's still accusing me of that thing. I am trying.
Oh my God.
Am I not trying? I'm working on it.
Oh my God.
What if I've done that thing for 30-something years? Change.
You didn't do it for 30-something years.
How many years?
I married you. Not at it. Not.
Okay, 20-something years.
Yeah.
Okay, if I've done something for 20-something years, and how many
So
years?
it will take you just 18 years. Maybe. So it will take you another 20-something years. Another 20-something years to change.
Have I not changed?
Well, almost. You have changed. I know. You have changed a lot. But that one that you're talking about.
They say I've changed. Emma Monisi.
That one is Ogun. You don't know what.
He just abused my father and my mother. But really, the truth
But
of the
we
matter
too, we
is,
have our own. That's what
everybody
makes it
has
beautiful.
one thing or the other. But you see, the thing is, let's not make an issue out of it. Like I was saying, you saw it like it's not an issue. The person sees that as an issue. You can bend one for the other. We can help each other see it in another way.
That's
and
right.
get better at it.
That's right.
But you see, there's something about being defensive. Everybody has a defense. Try and put your hand inside your eyes. Your eyelids will blink. Nobody likes it when an intruder is coming into your space. So being defensive is something that we all are made up of. But once in a while, you let down your defense and you allow the help to come through. It might not be immediate. It might not be something that you'd accept immediately. You might still want to fight it a bit. But the truth of the matter is, if you accept it, you keep working on it and it gets better. The other part of it is, after you have tried, and the person has not budged, and the person is still continuing to do that thing, why not just accept it and say that this person is not about to change, or she's changing at a slow pace. So rather than keep emphasizing that change, just be like, you know what, because I love you, I will be your change. I will be your sunshine. I will make up for you. Anytime you are not up to that particular thing, I will feel it in, and I will not complain. The guilt might even now help that person to become a better person. Is it not working?
I'm about to find out. Marriage really is a compromise.
Yes, it is.
You know, when you're teaching a person how to drive, basically they have their own lane. But there's nothing like, this is your lane, just stay on it. No. If the person beside you swerves, you have to swerve away from them. Marriage is a compromise. It's a place where we shift our grounds. Like my wife just was talking about that. Why don't you get to the place where you say, you know what, this is my spouse's weakness, and two have become one. So I'm accepting them and their weakness and accepting them just the way that they are, and we're just going to move on. Some things are easier to do than others. There are some that you'll find out you let go. Some will remain there. Some, I believe, you're not meant to let go. You're meant to help your partner to transition. Because if your partner did not have that weakness in the first place, they wouldn't have attracted you. So listen, put together what the First Lady just said and myself, and you see a perfect picture, which is there are a lot of things that you don't even bring it to the attention of your spouse. You know that's a weakness. You've already accepted them as they are. You know that's their weakness. When they exhibit that weakness and that trait, you just do the needful. Do you understand? Yeah. That's why they have you. You just do what is required because you have to accept the fact that look, your spouse is a matured adult, meaning that to a very large extent they have formed. I always tell spouses, focus that energy on your educating and developing and training your children. To a very large extent, it's difficult to train a grown-up person, but they can improve. Nobody will change 100%. It's a lie. But they can improve. There's always room for improvement. We can get better. And then there are some things that the whole idea is not for you to just accept it and say, this is how my spouse is. There are some things that the whole idea is to help them, whereby they finally get to a place where they begin to hear your voice in their head. You know what the most tragic thing about life is? Because of the job that I do, I'm into publication, I'm into printing, and I get to do a lot of obituaries. It's part of the work. And it's always quite interesting when you see people come to do the program, the funeral program for their loved ones. At that moment, first and foremost, you discover there's never any bad person at death. That's number one. Then number two, they suddenly begin to appreciate the person. Why do they always write tributes when the person can't read it? They begin to appreciate a person. Wisdom dictates you appreciate a person in their presence, not in absentia. So they begin to appreciate the person. Number three, then they begin to hear the person's voice in their head, what the person is saying all along, because somewhere there's a mental laziness in human beings that says that, look, they're still around, they will fix it until they no longer are around. Wisdom dictates that we don't get to that place before we make all these episodes. So until next week, be naked and not ashamed.